Hello, everyone. This is Angie with Ghostmind Paranormal, ghostmind.net. I know y'all have heard a lot from me on Facebook and the pages and the groups and such. Well, now you're going to hear from me in person. My friend Mick Wynn and he is from Latrobe Valley Paranormal Detectives. We've been talking for a good while now, and we've come up with some basic ghost hunting tips and how to get rid of the nasty little ghosties if you don't want them around there if they're scaring you. Welcome, Mick.
Thank you, Angela. How you're doing well?
I am. I'm tired. I've been running. How are you?
I'm tired. I'm waking up.
Waking up clear across each other, mixed in Australia, and I'm in South Carolina, United States. Well, let's see. We got a lot to talk about. The thing is, where to begin? I guess we can start with ghost hunting tip number one. What would you classify as the first thing that you want to remember when investigating a paranormally active scene?
Always show respect.
Yes. There was the, the show Ghost Hunters on their webpage. It was called Tabs. They used to say ghosts are people too. That was their motto. Well, I stick by that. I stuck by it then and I stick by it now because they are people. And we've got to
Exactly.
remember that. The
Yeah.
really rare ones are the nasties, the evil, and they're non human. Those are more rare than common. They just scream louder
Mhm.
than the
True.
people ghosts. They just scream louder. They might seem like they're more common, they might seem like they're more powerful, but they're not. If you do not fear them, they have no power over you. We're talking about the people ghost. Be respectful and treat them as you would a family member sitting across the table from you. And you're just chatting with them because that's essentially what you're doing.
Yep. Exactly. That's all. That's all it is. Really, is just communicating with them and just finding out from them various bits of information. It's almost like
Exactly.
doing an interrogation. When you want to
Yes,
find out what they're feeling, because again, ghosts are people too, so they have feelings as well, and they can flip on you, but usually if you do the right thing and you're respectful, they won't.
right.
And yeah, so it makes it a lot easier to deal with the good ones, obviously, than the darker entities. But
Exactly. Yes, absolutely. I couldn't agree more with that. And, out of respect and them being people too, you got to realize that they are human and they have everything associated with a human being as we do in the flesh. So they have tempers, they have feelings, they can cry, they can get happy. It's really all a part of common sense. How would you treat a friend or a family member?
exactly.
They can only act up in very different kinds of ways, but still, it's basically the same concept here.
Yeah.
Um, Tip number two, Mick, I'll let you come up with that one.
All right. Well, what's the most important piece of equipment that you can, or most important thing? It doesn't necessarily have to be equipment that you would take to a paranormal investigation.
I would say that would be yourself.
I was going to say that would be your mind.
Yes, yourself, your mind, your body, your senses. Because even if you don't consider yourself as sensitive, you're still going to feel something. If
Yeah,
the place is really haunted, there's some type of feeling that'll just creep over you. And it's not necessarily a bad feeling or a creepy feeling, but a lot of times it is because of the way EMF energies interact with our physical bodies.
yeah,
I always say, bring yourself first. And all you really need from there is something to snap photographs with and a voice recorder, maybe an EMF detector. That those really come in handy. If you're seeking for physical evidence, those are the top three I would recommend, and don't spend your money on anything else until you know if you're going to like doing this or not.
Exactly, because it can become an expensive business doing paranormal
Yes.
investigations. I know in the first year of doing paranormal investigations, I spent like $3,000 on eBay just on various bits and pieces, like obviously multiple things, like multiple cameras, multiple EMF readers, digital voice recorders, etc. But yeah, it adds up pretty quick. So, but then I was preparing for a whole team. I wasn't just preparing for myself. That included stuff like walkie-talkies. Thank God for eBay for a lot of that stuff. Um,
Yeah.
though, in saying that, I did make some good contacts along the way as well, um, with certain people and companies that were willing to give me a discounted price on some of their equipment they were selling. So, that helps as well.
Exactly.
But
And it's
definitely,
also mentioned that because people wouldn't think, hey, they might give me a discount.
yeah.
I
And
know I wouldn't have thought.
a lot of the time, all you've got to do is advertise it on your Facebook group or page, and they're happy with that because word gets around
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
way.
exactly. Advertising is a big, big helpful thing here in this field.
Yeah, it certainly is.
Yeah. And I
So,
know people who've got thousands of dollars worth of equipment and still hadn't got everything they need.
mm. And the thing is that the paranormal field is constantly evolving. New technology keeps coming out.
You will
New
keep
apps
up.
keep coming out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
all
Yeah,
that
you
comes.
will never keep up with it. No, not price wise. If you want to buy everything out there, then you're not going to be up to date for very long. And to stick with what you can handle at the moment, it takes hands to handle each piece of equipment. If you
True.
want a live stream, you still got to handle your equipment to do the investigation. You got to handle your phone or your camera. That takes a lot. It usually takes more hands than just one that's seen on the camera just to do a solo investigation. If you want to use all your equipment, it's going to take a lot more than just one or two.
True. Plus, you also need to be able to carry that equipment as well. Like, if you're going to change from one piece of equipment to another in a hurry, you don't want to have to keep running back, say, to your car all the time.
Now,
So,
when it gets heavy, yeah,
I tell you, I usually go in with a tack vest or, a molly vest, which has plenty of pockets. Plus, I've got a first aid kit with me, for just in case. So there's always
that's
I've always got
yeah.
everything within reach, so I don't have to go back to the car or or carry a suitcase around everywhere, sort of thing.
Attack vest and cargo pants, whether you're male or female, it will come in handy.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, you have to carry a lot of stuff at one time, and you got to remember your own strength because this stuff can get heavy. You'll think, well, here's my voice recorder, here's my camera, well, here's my EMF meter. Maybe I want to take this book, put it in my back pocket, and my flashlight. Oh, and I want to take my LED black light flashlight. And maybe this mag light, for the low
Yeah,
lighting situations, and I'm going
yeah,
to be live streaming, and it's going to rack up not only in money, not only in items, but in weight.
yes, yes. That's very, very true as well. So,
You
but
got to
luckily,
have
a lot of the stuff these days is all plastic, so it's sort of, it
you
does
got
make it lighter. It's not metal anymore, or not as much.
right.
So,
The physical sema is a big part of paranormal investigating.
yeah.
I mean, I've seen investigators literally wear out within the first 5 minutes or 10 minutes of the investigation because they brought too much stuff. They tried to do too many things. They walked a little too far, didn't park close enough.
Yeah.
You have to add it all up in your head. What can I feasibly do? How
Yeah.
many people have I got? Am I alone? You have to add all of that up before you get there. And instead of pop out, you poop out.
Yeah, God, that's a nice way of putting it. Yeah. So,
I would actually recommend walking. Just take a short walk every day, build up your stamina, or lifting a little weights. If you're going to carry a lot of equipment over a
yep.
period of time, you need to do something to build yourself to that point so you can do it and carry on your investigation properly.
And if you have the opportunity as well, try walking upstairs for a while,
Yes.
because a lot of places are multiple stories, or it's
Yeah,
land
put
that's
on
not,
all your equipment and do this. Yes.
yeah, and it's, or the land isn't flat. You need to be able to, you know, to climb without feeling absolutely stuffed at the top of wherever you're going. So,
Yeah. That is a big factor in investigating. And the more you do stuff like that with your equipment on, the more you'll know about your own self and how much you can and cannot take.
yeah,
I know that sounds a bit extreme, but I myself, when I first started investigating, I pooped out a lot. I mean, this is coming from experience, and I've given plumb out on investigations before because, I didn't take into account I can't carry all this equipment for this amount of time or this far, or, I didn't count on this investigation going on that long.
yeah.
Some of them can drag out hours and hours beyond what you predicted.
Oh, certainly, they certainly can. I
You
mean,
can lose track of time. You start
I know,
getting activity, your adrenaline starts popping up and pumping out in your bloodstream, and you might get scared or overly excited at the same time, and that's going to wear on your stamina as well.
yeah,
How you handle that situation, if you get activity or extreme activity, even how you
yeah,
handle that situation is going to depend on your endurance.
exactly. And it helps too if you can have a drink that's got electrolytes in it, to help keep your energy levels up, or even like power bars, things like that.
Right. That was number three, nutrition. You've always got to keep yourself in the fuel that your body needs to go on. I always have to drink at least two protein shakes during any investigation, at least. I've
Okay.
got lower stamina than most people, and I know that. I'm a diabetic. I have to keep that in mind. Plus, I have to keep snacks simply because that reason that I am a diabetic. I learned my lesson this last investigation this is the first one I did as a diabetic,
Yep.
and I had a diabetic emergency. And, I thought my two or three protein shakes was going to hold me through it, but it didn't. I mean, I ran completely out. And another thing on that subject that I had been thinking about that I meant to put out on Facebook, so I'll just say it here. When there's situations where an investigator looks like they're in trouble or are in trouble, or maybe even has to go to the emergency room, passes out or whatever, and they think they're attacked by spirit. I've been keeping track of this. Every time that I've heard of it, it's, well, almost always dehydration is what the ER will say after the blood test and all.
Yeah.
So maybe maybe drinking, enough fluid like that, electrolytes, like Gatorade or water or something like that, combine them with protein, maybe that could help actually fend off spirit attacks. That's something I've really been thinking.
I'd, I'd, I'd say it would make you more prepared for it. That's for sure. You know, make
Yeah.
you physically more prepared for it, and mentally as well, so you can deal with it better. So,
Most definitely. Yes, most definitely. There's a lot of things to consider when you're first going out on an investigation. And I mean, that's just what we just discussed in this last 15, 16 minutes. That's just the tip of the iceberg.
yeah,
It's just very, very basic things before you consider anything else. Being a paranormal investigator is a very hard job. And if you allow it to, it can work you 24/7. That's
yeah,
another thing. That's another point here. If you allow it to, it can work your mind, your body, your spirit, your spiritual energy.
yeah,
It can work you to death. And therefore, you have to set limits on what you're willing to do and not willing to do. So that way, anything in between, you can pick out individually what you can handle and what you cannot. And it will depend on how much you've already handled. You can
yeah.
burn out really quickly.
You have to learn to be able to shut it off
Right.
as
And
well.
over the long haul, too, a long haul burnout can happen pretty quickly. Yeah, you
True.
got to know your own limits and when to stop Facebooking, when to stop blogging or vlogging or whatever you do, YouTubing,
Yep.
investigating, period. You've got to know when to stop, when to rest, and when you can start back. It takes a while to make that adjustment to get to where you know what you can handle. I can do this, this, and this week, but I can't do this, and this.
Mm. Yeah.
Because I know
You
I
really.
sometimes tend to get excited.
Yeah.
And I do a lot more. Yeah, I try a lot more than I can handle. So
Mm.
anyway, take it away, Mick.
Um. Okay. I'm just trying to think what we do. Tip number 4. Um.
I think that's 4, 5, and 6, maybe.
I would say always, like, I'm not a big fan of the. No, I'm not a. Well, yeah, maybe tip 6, I don't 5 or 6, something like that. I would always recommend making sure that if you're doing a solo investigation, at least let someone else know where you are,
Yes,
because
absolutely.
and let them know I will be there for a certain amount of time. If I'm not back, please come look for me.
Yes, that's at the very least to let somebody know that you're there and make sure the person you let know is reliable enough to come looking for you.
Yes. Oh yes, because trust is a big thing too with
Yes,
within the paranormal world, as you know. So you want to make sure that you've got a trustworthy, reliable person backing you up at all times.
yes.
And the more the merrier, really. So, especially if you're doing big places that are,
Like,
dilapidated, abandoned, etc., you
yeah,
want to make
like my
sure you've got
team. Mm-hmm.
you want to make sure you've got someone to back you up.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just an amen choir right now. I mean, absolutely. You can't. Not only have you got to trust, who you tell where you go and trust them enough to come find you, you've got to trust your team. If you're taking a team out with you, you've got to trust them. You've got to trust them to know if you're in trouble or not.
Yeah,
Number one, they need to be paying enough attention to you, therefore working with you as a team to know if you get into trouble out there, that you don't have to tell them at the end of the investigation, well, this, and this happened to me. That's what took me so long. That shouldn't happen. They should already know that you're not okay.
Yeah. And if you know
whether
each
it,
other's health problems, pre-existing health problems, then that goes a big way to, being able to react to whatever might happen while you're on an
exactly,
investigation.
exactly, and health problems can kick up in the least expected ways and time and at the least expected time. So if you got health problems, then you should let each other know first before you join the team. Let that team leader know that you have health problems. It just might be for your own safety. It is for your own safety, and it might work out for the best.
Very true.
If
Very
the team
true.
leader- yeah, if the team leader cannot handle or does not know how to handle your particular special need, then maybe you should find a team that would know or see how willing the lead investigator is to learn about your need before you
Yep.
go out with them.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of medical stuff happen on investigations,
Mm.
and I'm a former emergency medical technician, and I let that be known on my Facebook profile, and one of my friends commented, "Well, then you'll know what to do if I have a panic attack on an investigation." I said, "Dude, if you're going to have a panic attack on an investigation, you don't need to be on one."
Yeah.
But that was just joking between friends. But seriously, serious stuff can happen before you know it, and that's in any situation in life. Much less where you're more open and prone to a spiritual attack on top of the physical situation.
Yep. That's true too. So there's a lot of different things to take into account when it comes to going out on paranormal investigations, especially with first timers.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
because
It,
first
it, it is.
timers are usually the ones that are the least reliable, but it's only due to their inexperience rather than any conscious effort on their part. Though sometimes you do have people with egos, and that gets in the way, and that's one thing that should be left at the door before you even go in to do an investigation. Is leave the ego out. You're all working as a team. If you're doing it as a team, the last thing you need are egos getting in the way of an investigation, and that could cause you to lose evidence or not get evidence because
Right,
you're so wrapped up in egos that you know the
right. You need
investigation
to be
becomes secondary, which it shouldn't
right.
be.
You need to be working as one unit. That's what team means. One unit. If there's going to be a video or a live stream or whatever, it should be a group video, a group live stream, a group whatever.
Yeah,
It's okay to go out and investigate on your own, but if you're working as a part of a team unit at that particular time, you need to clear that with your team leader so your leader knows what's going on. If not, here we go again in this whole circle of nobody knows what's going on with each other and bad things can happen.
exactly. That is so true. I've had that happen in my team. I dare
Me
say
too.
just about every team has had that happen with at least one person in there.
Yes, I've had it happen more than once actually, and I'm not real happy about that.
Mm.
Because a team is a team, and you focus together, you work together, you share everything. If you're on a team investigation, unless otherwise specified by your lead investigator, who knows what's going on with everybody else and if it's okay or not at that time.
Well, there's no I in team, so
Right.
you know.
It may not be appropriate at that time. Other things might be happening, and here this one is stemming off on their own, thinking, I'm going to go promote myself on YouTube. Well, whole team could be in trouble and need that one person, or the leader might need that one person's equipment or skill or whatever. Team is team. You don't want to leave everybody waiting on you either.
True.
Yeah, there's some things that can be excused. Like I had car trouble. I felt bad about it. I was late for my last investigation, but the battery was dead. What was I gonna do? I had to fix it first. It made me about 30-ish minutes late.
Yeah.
So really, I was 10 minutes late, and it took me 20 minutes to get to the church. And I
Yeah.
felt really bad, and I apologized and apologized. But what was I going to do? I couldn't get there without having that battery replaced.
Yeah.
So I had to take steps most of the day to get that done just so I could be there at all. You know,
Mm.
things like that, car trouble and stuff is excusable. Don't be ashamed of that. That's excusable. Sickness is excusable. Medical emergencies happen on the way to paranormal investigations. I've known this to be true.
Mm.
You know, there's stuff that's excusable, and there's just, oh, well, I'll come when I feel like it. That's different. If
Yeah.
that's the case with somebody on my team, you're out right then. You're no longer part of this team because you're not acting as a team. And
That's
that's my
right.
whole point, as a team. Yeah, that
Yeah.
is really important, especially for first timers. And they're going to get a new team out, and they're going to fall on their face. You know, if they don't work as a team, they're all new. What are they doing? One of them's going to get in trouble. I can guarantee it.
Mm.
Some kind of trouble, some way.
Yeah.
It is very easy to do in this field. Get into some kind of trouble, and you can't get yourself out of it. You need somebody else's help. No matter where you just got scared out of your wits and you're sparking all kind of activity around you because they feed off your fear or whatever. You know, God forbid worse.
Yeah. True. Yep. And well, actually, your car trouble leads me to the next thing. Make sure you have plenty of batteries.
There you go. Yeah, activity will drain them quick.
Oh yeah. Like I've got
Yeah,
a
I
lot
had
of
to
I've
go
got a lot
back
of
and get
rechargeable
that.
batteries, and I've got a battery caddy that I always take with me. So I've always got spare batteries. I've got spare batteries for the cameras. Um, I've got power packs for other devices if I find that they're not going to last long enough. Say, if we're doing an investigation that takes, anything up to 6 hours, then the power packs come in handy to keep things going. So yeah, you need to make sure that you've got plenty of power there. I've even got a small generator I carry around sometimes, just in case if something needs to
That's a
be
good
charged in a
idea.
hurry, or to power something up.
That's a good idea because usually if they drain one batteries, don't be surprised to look in your pack and get out a new battery and it's drained too.
Yeah,
They
I
probably
usually
drained that before they drained the one in your equipment.
yeah yeah exactly,
No.
because they need energy to manifest,
Yeah, it's
so
just the nature
therefore
of the
they'll
deal.
they'll suck the energy out of anything they can half the time.
Batteries, you, whatever's around.
Yep. Even
Yeah,
candles, they use the energy from a lit flame, to manifest. So
they do. They
that's
do.
why that's why you need to make sure that you've got plenty of batteries with you, because otherwise your investigation is going to end very quickly.
Oh yeah. Well, there is one solution. Now, I do not recommend this for beginners. This is not a tip for beginners, but if people are listening out there who know how to handle spirit manifestations, then maybe they're expensive, but look into an EM pump. It
Mm.
pumps out electromagnetic frequencies. This
Yep.
is what the spirit needs to manifest.
Mm.
Give
Yeah,
it some extra
I've got
energy.
two of them as well.
I haven't been able to afford one yet. It's on my wish list,
Yeah.
but my wish list is long right now.
No, well, I had a team member. He used to make them himself.
Oh
So,
wow,
and he was selling them, and they were like only, I think he was selling them for like $40 each. So
not bad.
that's not bad. That's compared to a lot of those other EM pumps that are out there. That's pretty darn good price. And of course, I doubled up. I thought, yeah, I'll get two of them, thanks. So, and they run just on a 9-volt battery. They're easy to use, and yeah, they're definitely worth
Yeah,
having. Like you said, get that, get spirits to use the energy from that rather than
your
from what
batteries are.
your equipment that
Yeah,
you're using to record or to, you
yeah,
know, communicate.
exactly. I would only use them in known active places because they will spark activity.
Yeah,
I only use them in known active places that your batteries, you just know it in your gut, your batteries are going to get drained. Use the EM pump at that point.
yeah,
You don't want to go sparking it in somebody's residence either. So I say that's a no for residences. That's just my opinion, and that's my own rules, my personal rules. But I
yeah.
would not use one in residence at all. I would use one, like, say, for example, if I so happen to go to vacation to the Stanley Hotel or
Hmm.
the Queen Mary,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
would
Public
consider them,
places.
yeah, known places or places that you know of that are haunted. Other people are most likely not going to be affected by the activity if it sparks, and it most likely will if you use one of these devices. So, just make sure all your safety checks are in place, that you're not going to spark activity on someone who don't know what to do, who don't know what they're doing or don't know what to do.
Yeah,
You don't want that in the home, period. Unless it's your own home, then by all means, go ahead, crank it up. If
yeah,
that's what you wish to do, but it will spark activity, and you don't want to put this on somebody who can't handle it.
yeah. And especially as well as if you're doing a private investigation, you don't want to put the people at risk that live there as well, because that could, you know, that can actually cause more drama than what it's worth,
Yeah.
and more problems than what it's worth too. So
Can you think of anything else before I have one more suggestion for this list before we move on to how to handle the unwanted entities or the negative entities?
I would I would definitely suggest making sure you've got protection when you go in, whether it be tourmaline crystal or a necklace with a cross that's been dipped in holy water and blessed, um, or even just a prayer before you go in with your team, or even if you do it on your own.
Always do
Um,
all of the above.
yeah, try and get
Always.
try and always make sure that you've got protection before you go in, because you don't want to be in a situation where you've you lay yourself bare to psychic attacks or spiritual attacks.
Right. Because even some of the most seasoned investigators don't know actually how to deal with those on their own.
Mm,
I've seen investigators who just don't, and that's okay too, as long as you've got somebody who does, because it can happen. And it happens more times than some of us want to admit.
yeah,
It's happened to me. It's happened to me more than once. I had to grow and learn my abilities and learn how to defend myself against it and how to prevent it
yep.
and how to stop it if it was happening.
And that's the thing. It's doing investigations. It's always a learning process, because it's never they're never the same. I've done oh I've done it well over. I've done well, yeah. I'd say I've done well over 20 investigations, and I haven't had one that's been. I haven't had two that have been the same. They've always been different.
Yeah,
So expect the unexpected is
exactly.
another tip I would add. Always expect the unexpected. Keep your
Yes,
wits about
always.
you. Never go in under the influence of drugs or alcohol because you're just
Yeah.
laying yourself wide open for attack
Or possession.
or possession. Plus, not only that, but if you're in a place that's falling apart, you don't want to accidentally cause yourself a severe injury and then not be allowed to have treatment at the hospital because you're under the influence of different various substances.
Yeah. There's always something to consider with that. It's just don't, I don't care what you do with your personal life. Do not go into a haunted location doing these things.
No, exactly, because that'll bring you undone quicker than anything else.
Absolutely. Well, it's going to make you not want to go back either. If they fall under a spiritual slash psychic attack while they're under the influence of drugs, I've seen people that has run away from the field and never want to even mention it again.
Mm,
You can't mention the word ghost in front of these people. This is serious.
yeah.
Anything else you can think of before I end with my other point?
Um, no. No. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, my last point on just these first of my tips, there would be more in further podcasts.
Yeah.
But the last, for now, as I roll right back to number one, remember we said ghosts are people too?
Yep.
Well, people are people too. Respect your team members, respect the other people in your field. If one person believes in orbs and another one don't, or they say this is evidence or that's evidence, don't go around putting them down, especially not in public. We may seem famous in and of ourselves because that's really the only place we are famous
Mm-hmm.
in and of ourselves. This is still not mainstream yet. It may appear to be for people who are searching for it.
Mm,
But the everyday person on the street, especially around where I live, this is not mainstream people. We only have each other. We've got to rely on each other. If we want to make this mainstream, the more we are nice to each other, kind to each other, promote each other, and work together, the better it's going to be, the more we will get it out there into mainstream.
yeah.
But
Oh, I
all
do have
this,
another. I do have another tip, but keep going. Sorry.
let it fly.
If you're doing a public investigation, always first contact whoever is in charge of that place and make sure you always have permission.
Yes,
And one thing I do here is I also let the police know, the local police from wherever I'm going. I always let them know, look, we are doing an investigation. Um, we're doing it on such and such a date between such and such a time and such a time. Um, so that if anything ever happens, you've always got someone of authority who knows what you're doing, and you'll have the permission of whoever it is. I mean, I've done several cemeteries in the area, and I've always been able to get a hold of whoever's running the cemetery trust and ask them. Also, they can also be great people to get information on the location from. So that
absolutely.
that also helps keep have you prepared for whatever you may run into at these locations.
Or if you're absolutely insistent on not getting permission, make sure it is a public place
Yeah,
and preferably on the National Registry.
yeah,
There, that way you know that it's public. You know anybody can visit that. And for God's sake, I don't care if it's on a National Historic Registry or a public place or whatever. Don't go in there alone at night, and don't go into a cemetery alone at night or at night, period. It's illegal. That's my point. The cemetery is illegal at night. You can't be in there. I don't care if it's public or what. You cannot be in a cemetery at night, even if it's on the registry. Even, it's posted as a public place. You're going to
Well,
get arrested.
here it's different. Here you can, because I have actually, I've done, like I said, I've done cemeteries before, and I've done local ones, but I always told the police that I was doing it, and they never said anything. So here it is legal. You can go into a cemetery
In the
24/7.
United Absolutely not. In the United States, you're going straight to jail. You can't talk your way out of it. If dark is falling on that cemetery, you get out. Have everything done before the sun starts to set.
No,
Because once that sun
here in Australia, it
starts to
is
drop,
legal.
yeah, it's illegal here. You'll go straight to jail. There's no talking the cops out of it. Just don't.
Mm.
Yeah.
No, we're lucky here in Australia. We can do that. So, I mean, unless it's an actual gated cemetery, then no. But if it's an open cemetery, then yes, you can. Our local cemetery here in Moe, in Victoria, where I'm at, I've walked in there of a night time, and I'll let the police know, obviously, first, because vandals, stuff like that, you don't want to be associated with that. You want to make sure that they know who you are, what you're doing there, and how long you're going to be there for. Once you do that, you've got basically carte blanche to go anywhere that's not a gated cemetery.
Yeah. You just stop yourself from getting arrested, whatever you have to do in whatever country. Know your local laws.
Yep, exactly. Definitely know your local laws
Yeah.
about anything to do with going into places, because yeah, here if they're abandoned and you haven't got permission, you will get locked up for it if the police find you there.
Oh,
So always
oh
pays
yeah.
know your
Get
laws
locked
and
up.
try and get permission.
You could go to jail and do some serious time or have a very serious fine here in the United States by going into abandoned place and trespassing. If you get caught trespassing, that's it.
Yeah.
I've watched whole teams get stopped dead in their tracks because they got arrested for trespassing.
Mm.
Not a good idea. Not if you want to keep your team and do your YouTube stuff or whatever you're doing.
Yep.
Okay,
And
so
not only that, but you want to have a good reputation. See, that's the thing. I'm lucky with
yes.
because I do talk to the police every time I'm going to do an investigation. I usually call them a week before, and then I'll call them on the night to reaffirm that yes, I'm going there. And then when I leave, I'll give them another call, letting them know, all right, we're leaving here. So if anything else happens after we leave, it is not us. It is not our fault.
There you go. There you
And
go.
because of that, I've got a great reputation with the police in just about all of Gippsland. I can go anywhere, and as long as I ring them up, they're like, oh yeah, no worries. And just on a side note, it's amazing how many police actually believe in the paranormal.
Oh, I know. I've run into quite a few myself.
I would say here in Australia, I would have to say at least 80% of the police that I've dealt with have all had a story to tell about the paranormal.
Yeah, it's probably that here too.
And I've even gotten tips from some of them, funnily enough, which is even more awesome. I remember one that I did with my fiance up in New South Wales, and one of the police women there, like we actually went to the police station before going, and she was telling us, "Oh, well, while you're there, check this spot out." She goes, "I used to run up and down these stairs there that led to the beach that you're investigating, and yeah, we've." She goes, "I've found quite a few different things happen there." So, they're always good for tips as well. So it's an added bonus.
Yeah. Well, I guess there's a lot here. I don't get to talk to many people that often, but I guess there's a lot of police officers here that's got stories and tips and all that they could share. Uh, and if you are one of those and you're listening to me, ghostmind.net@gmail.com. Please email me and tell me your story or your tip. You can remain anonymous. I just love to hear it. Love to hear from you. And thank you for what you're doing.
Yeah.
So I guess the next topic of our conversation for the second segment is how to deal with the nasties and get rid of them if you need to or want to. Or how to deal with, ghosts, period, that you don't want going around scaring you and, anything like that.
Yeah.
I guess number one on that list, the topic would be sage. I always get asked about sage. I just got asked about sage today and yesterday and the day before that, actually.
Yep.
Sage will set your energy in the place that you're burning it in. It will set the energy around that burning sage to zero, which means if there is a spirit that you did not banish from that room or that place or property, it will still be there when you burn the sage and you're probably going to piss it off. But if you cleanse it of all the nasties or unwanteds, and then you burn the sage, you get rid of all those negative energies around that, and you can basically uh, seal what you've done with the banishing. You clear it off, and you burn the sage. They don't like it. They're going to run from it anyway. That's
Plus,
one reason they get pissed off.
plus sage also has good medicinal properties. It actually kills a lot of bacteria.
Because it is antibacterial and it's a great thing to be burning right now, especially with a pandemic on. I'm not saying it's a cure for COVID, but it's not going to hurt to burn it.
Oh no, that is so true.
But if the spirit does act up when sage is burned around it, and this is just a trigger for your mind.
Yeah.
If you get more spirit activity and you have burned sage, it's usually not a good spirit.
No.
And some bigger guns need to be called in there. Somebody who knows what they're doing to cleanse that property or instruct you how to do it. You can do it yourself. Just make sure you get proper instruction. Again, you can email me, ghostmind.net@gmail.com.
Yep.
Just shoot me a quick question or say I need help. I'll be glad to help you any way I can.
Yep.
So,
And same
sage
here. Same here. If you have any
yeah,
inquiries, email me at latrovevpd@gmail.com because I tend to do a lot of different. I've used quite a few different rituals for getting rid of them, and also because I hold a Melchizedek priesthood, I'm actually authorized by God to do blessings, which I've had to do quite a few times. I do just about at every private investigation that I do. So please feel free if you need to find out any more. latrovevpd@gmail.com, and I'll only be too happy to give you advice on what um, may be necessary to get rid of these nasties.
all right. I guess, do you have anything more to add to the sage discussion?
Um, I do a little prayer with every room that I do.
Yes, that's important.
Um,
If you don't state your intentions out loud, keep in your mind, pray to who you believe in or to the universe itself, whatever feels comfortable to you.
yeah,
But do say a prayer, whether it be internally or out loud.
yeah, I do it out loud.
Some people do. That's fine.
Mm,
For me, it's worked both ways.
Yeah. And for that, I usually, even with the with sagings, blessings, anything like that, I always make sure that I've got a team member with me as well. For some of it, I do need a team member because sometimes you need more than two hands. So, especially if you're reading and you're trying to burn sage, and or if you're doing a blessing and you're using a cathedral candle, a cross, plus either a Bible or a prayer book. Um,
Something that
you need
represents
you need to
what
have
you
someone
believe.
else with you to do part of, to take on part of the work.
Yeah, partner's always good to have when you're trying to deal with something like this, but it can be done alone. But I would recommend if you can't have somebody physically there, do have somebody on the phone or at least texting with you.
Mm.
Like I said, somebody to, guide and instruct you if you're not comfortable, especially if you're not comfortable. Have your symbol of what your faith is in, what you believe there, something that you latch on to and you know in your heart that it worked for you.
Yeah, and if you can, it's usually good to also try and involve the people whose place of residence it is, um, so that they get an idea of what's going on too. Because I have found that a lot in the past. Um, a lot of people that we've done private investigations for, they like to know what's going on. So either make sure you explain to them what you're doing, and if they want to help, let them, because
Yes.
that way they
Ask
can
them.
feel what you're
Always
doing.
ask them first. Yes, ask them first to be involved because ultimately, and this is part of why I named my team Ghost Mind, and I had the motto, the mind is the matter,
Yeah,
is because what they believe, what they think matters. And not only that, but whatever, if your mind is going to throw out doubt, that's going to affect whether you get rid of that spirit or not. You have to be on par with their beliefs. You have to get them involved. And most importantly, they are ultimately the ones who is going to fight this spirit and banish it. You're just helping.
yeah.
It's going to be a mental battle, a spiritual battle. It's going to take place in the mind.
Well, it's for their benefit too.
Yeah. But if they don't know how to fight this on their own, if they're not in one accord with you on this, it could be worse for them.
Yeah,
They are going to have to stand up to the spirit themselves. When y'all leave, fine. But if they can't stand up to that spirit on their own, when you're gone, if it comes back, you're going to go right back in there and you're going to keep going right back in there until they know that they have to ultimately banish it themselves.
yeah. Well, as long as they've got advice, but if it need be, I'll go myself into a place twice. Not everyone wants to get in. Not every client wants to get involved. So, and
Yeah,
when I
I
say
know.
client, I'm using the term loosely because I don't charge for investigations. But I always see them
Ultimately,
as a
by
client.
they give you spiritual authority. And by
Yeah,
giving spiritual authority, they're consenting to everything that you do. That's the only way you're going to do it for them. But they have to be willing. They have to be in one accord with you.
hmm,
Because when it comes down to it, this physical world, the physical space that you own, you have to assert that,
yeah,
or they're going to come right back in and run all over you. That's why I'm saying ultimately it falls back on the person that you did it for. If it wasn't really their will to begin with, or they was afraid, they let fear creep in, anything like that, that spirit's going to come right back and attack, and you're going to have to go right back. So it's very important to get them in one accord and one mind with you,
yeah,
because it all falls back to them. The physical space that they own and they hold, they have to set those boundaries. for the spiritual as well as the physical. It's just like intruders in your home. What are you going to do? Are you going to, you can stand on the police's authority, yes, but what if they can't come as fast as you need them to? What are you going to do? It's your turf.
Yeah, it's your call.
Yeah, it's your call, it's your turf. So that has to be in place before anything else can happen.
Yep.
Before anything's going to work, sage prayers, anything. They have to be willing to stand up for their turf and enforce it.
Yep. And always do a follow up.
Yes. Yeah,
Always.
never leave them just hanging. Ever.
Yeah. Plus, I like to know that whatever I've done to help get rid of anything nasty in their place, that it's actually worked, that it's gone. Otherwise, yep, I will go back and I will go through the process again, though albeit
Yeah.
sometimes with different
Some
things,
do it.
just to make sure
Some,
that I've used everything I can in my arsenal to get rid of whatever they've got at their residence.
yeah. I've rarely had to go back and redo mine. But I let the homeowner know up front exactly what I just told you guys.
Hmm.
It's still her. I've rarely had to go back. It has happened. There are some really evil spirits out there that, well, they can do a lot more than we ever give them credit for,
Yeah.
and get back in, forced a way back in. But ultimately, what we've already laid out stands firm. But if you have to go, you might have to go back several times. You might have to keep going back. It's not necessarily that the owner didn't stand up for their turf. It may just be that kind of a spirit.
Yeah.
You got to really be careful and watch what you determine the cause to be. That would have to be under intense investigation before I would ever put a cause on it if you have to go back more than one or two times.
Yeah. I've only ever had to go back once, and it was actually not because of a nasty. We got rid of the nasty, but there was another spirit there that was protecting um, a a toddler from the nasty. Once the nasty was gone, this other spirit, it was actually a nurse, didn't know what to do, so we had to help her cross over. And once we did that, everything was fine. So it's not necessarily always the nasties that stick around. It's just sometimes the other ones. When you get rid of the nasties, they don't know what to do anymore.
Yeah,
And, you've got to, if you get there and help them cross over, and then it's fine.
it all depends on the spirit that you're dealing with. Sure does.
Exactly. And like I said before,
Or
no case,
that
no case is
and
exactly the same as the other. You've got to have an open mind on what you're dealing with, and
right.
try and make sure that you do it right.
That part just comes with experience.
Hmm. And a gut feeling too. Sometimes rely on your gut too. Don't
Yeah. Your
don't
gut
dismiss gut
feeling,
feeling.
experience.
Your gut
Yeah.
feeling can
You
save
really
you.
gotta feel it. Yeah, I agree. I think you really got to feel this out, and know what your own senses are telling you. And most of this just comes with experience.
Yeah.
There's no cookie cutter thing here. Just general ideas, because like you said earlier, no investigation is going to be the same. You can't replicate one and then do it again and again and again. That's just not going to happen. You can go back to the same place on 2 different days and it'd be two totally different experiences.
Yeah.
The only thing that you can predict about this field is it's unpredictable.
Yeah.
uh
And find out as
Here's
much as you can about the people living there as well, because
okay.
they can project negative energy as well, or which can feed whatever nasties are there. And yeah, I've got like a bit of a questionnaire I use to ascertain or to help ascertain what we're going through or what we're going to get rid of. So, like the last one that we did only last week, um, one of them was a recovering drug addict. She'd been clean for 10 months, but it was like she had a permanent frown. And it was only the night that we returned to get rid of the dark entity that was there that she actually started to smile. So, and that was, when we found that out, that helped. I had uh, one of my team members with me who's a psychic medium. She was able to do some healing on this person, which helped as well get rid of any nasties that she was carrying with her. So, which was very, very handy. Made our job easier in the end. So,
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, there's no cookie cutter formula, but here's what I tell the people that's in trouble before I go in. I have actually just told the lady this. If if you want to burn sage, don't go out and spend a whole lot of money on it. Don't buy the sage ones and stuff are very expensive, at least to some people. So you can use the ground sage, what the spice that's on the spice racks in the grocery store, the ground powder sage. You can use like a bowl that won't burn or like a glass ashtray or something like that. And you can take a lighter of any kind. I prefer those stick lighters with the long handle so you don't burn yourself. You can use one of those to light it and keep it just a little bit stirred around the top, and you can blow on it a little bit. You can use that for your smudge. You can use table salt instead of sea salt. Just go plain up table salt. Uh, a little recipe that I use for black salt because they said it was the most powerful protection you could have as
yep,
salt wise is concerned. Well, I got my own little recipe. Sometimes I put in a little bit of the ground sage, but mostly I will use the ashes that I burnt off of that ground sage. Scrape off those ashes, put it in some table salt. You can use any other kind of ashes. I would prefer, if you're going to use ashes, something like wood ashes, but you can also use tobacco ashes. It's not the ashes that stinks, it's the butt.
yeah,
Or, it's the burnt part in the butt. Basically, if you're going to use something like a cigarette, which I don't condone smoking, I do it, but I don't condone it for anybody else. This is a little disclaimer. But yeah,
yes,
you
I'll
can
agree
use
with that.
uh, you can use basically any kind of ashes. I would just use it from something natural is all.
Yeah,
And mix it in with that table salt. Use the sage acids, mix that in with the table salt, and you can use a little bit of ground sage if you want to, and just mix it all together. And I let it sit overnight, and then I sprinkle it around. The only difference is black food coloring. You're getting exactly what I just told you in black salt.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Or another thing you can use actually is lavender. Um, I've had sage sticks that have had rosemary and rosemary and lavender in them, and yeah, you can use some dried ground lavender in there, and that helps as well
I bet it would.
because
Lavender is very calm, and therefore, any kind of a confused or angry spirit is going to be affected by that energy too.
well, considering lavender is it's also it has an intent of love about it as well as to help you relax. So, and nasties don't like anything positive such as love. They recoil at that. So that throw a bit of lavender in your salt, helps as well to make black salt. Sage
Yeah, that
sage is good, but lavender, when it comes to the salt thing, lavender is pretty much just as good as sage when it comes to salt. Not as a burning, not as something to burn though, because you need sage for that.
yeah, that's excellent advice. Um, okay, we have been recording for an hour and 5 minutes. I guess it might be time to wrap it up. What do you think? Any closing thoughts?
Um, just for people who are suffering from paranormal activity in their negative paranormal activity in their homes, always before you even think of doing anything yourself, get in contact with a paranormal team and ask for their advice. Never do it on your own accord because you might not know what you're messing with. A lot of us have experience with dealing with these things, and you don't want to be doing it blind, basically. So always, if you've got a problem in your own house, always get in contact with someone in the paranormal field first and try and find the best solution if you're going to do it yourself. If not, then call the paranormal team in, and if they're reputable enough, they'll do it properly for you.
That's great advice. Absolutely. Get a paranormal team first. Get their advice and see if they can come help. And if even if you have to call another team in if you're not satisfied, be be diligent and make sure you get the right advice.
Yep.
Okay, well, this has been Ghost Mind's first podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. There will be more to come. It may not be timely, but there will be more to come, I promise. And this is Angie with Mick Wynn from Latrobe Valley Paranormal Detectives and ghostmind.net. We're signing off for the evening. Thank you so much for listening. Bye bye.
Thank you.